The Gospel of Thomas is a gospel not found in the Bible. It was discovered in Egypt in 1945, and I believe this gospel contains words out of the mouth of Jesus that are nowhere to be found in the New Testament. And the gospel begins, "These are the hidden sayings that the living Jesus spoke, and Didymus Judas Thomas wrote down." Thomas, in the Syrian tradition, is supposed to have been the twin brother of Jesus. And his names Didymus and Thomas both mean twin. Saying 1. This public domain translation of the gospel has these editorial headers, which can be disregarded. It doesn't say this in the text. And he said, "Whoever discovers the meaning of these sayings will not taste death." Saying number 2. Jesus said, "Whoever seeks should not stop until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, they will be amazed and reign over the all." Saying 3. Jesus said, "If your leaders tell you, 'Look, the kingdom is in heaven,' then the birds of heaven will precede you. If they tell you, 'It's in the sea,' then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is within you and outside of you." This is a continuation of saying 3. When you know yourselves, then you will be known, and you realize that you're the children of the living Father. But if you don't know yourselves, then you live in poverty, and you are the poverty. Saying 4. Jesus said, "The older person will not hesitate to ask a little 7-day-old child about the place of life, and they will live, because many who are first will be last, and they will become one." This part of the gospel has been discovered before. I'm going to cross-reference this saying. Thomas was also quoted in a limited manner and referred to by early church fathers. We are going to go to Edgar Henneke's New Testament Apocrypha, where he says, "A work entitled The Gospel of Thomas is in fact mentioned and quoted by Hippolytus about 230 in his account of the Nassenes. And Hippolytus said, 'He who seeks me will find me in children from 7 years old, for there concealed shall in the 14th age be made manifest.'" Interesting that they conflated that saying with "many who are first will be last," which is canonical. Saying 5. Jesus said, "Know what is in front of your face, and what is hidden from you will be revealed, because there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed." That definitely sounds canonical. Saying 6. His disciples said to him, "Do you want us to fast? And how should we pray? Should we make donations? And what food should we avoid?" Jesus said, "Don't lie, and don't do what you hate, because everything is revealed in the sight of heaven. For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and nothing covered up that will stay secret." Saying 7. Jesus said, "Blessed is the lion that is eaten by a human, and then becomes human. But how awful for the human who is eaten by a lion, and the lion becomes human." I think there's a defect in transmission here. I think this should be, "and the human becomes lion." Saying 8. And he said, "The man is like a wise fisherman who threw his net into the sea. He drew it up from the sea. It was full of small fish. The fisherman found among them a large good fish. He threw all the small fish back into the sea. He chose the large fish without regret. He who has ears to hear, let him hear." Obviously, this parable has very close parallels to similar parables in the New Testament, as does this one. Saying 9. Jesus said, "Look, a sower went out, took a handful of seeds, and scattered them. Some fell on the roadside. The birds came and gathered them. Others fell on the rock. They did not take root in the soil, and ears of grain did not rise toward heaven. Yet others fell on thorns. They choked the seeds, and the worms ate them. Finally, others fell on good soil. It produced fruit up toward heaven, some 60 times as much, and some 120. You can see that a lot of these sayings have very close parallels in the canonical books of the Bible. But not this one. Saying 10. Jesus said, "I have cast fire on the world, and look, I am watching over it until it blazes." Saying 11. Jesus said, "This heaven will disappear, and the one above it will disappear too. Those who are dead aren't alive, and those who are living will not die. In the days when you ate what was dead, you made it alive. When you're in the light, what will you do? On the day when you were one, you became divided. But when you become divided, what will you do?" Saying 12. The disciples said to Jesus, "We know you are going to leave us. Who will lead us then?" Jesus said to them, "Wherever you are, you will go to James the Just, for whom heaven and earth came into being." Saying 12, I think, is the best evidence that there are some of these sayings which predate the Gospels in the Bible. James the Just, of course, being the brother of Jesus, who became the leader of the community of Christian Jews after the crucifixion of Jesus. Some researchers believe this dates to the year 60 CE, which means it would predate the earliest canonical gospel, which is Mark. Saying 13. Jesus said to his disciples, "If you were to compare me to someone, who would you say I'm like?" Simon Peter said to him, "You're like a just angel." Matthew said to him, "You're like a wise philosopher." Thomas said to him, "Teacher, I'm completely unable to say whom you are like." Jesus said, "I'm not your teacher. Because you have drunk, you have become intoxicated by the bubbling spring I have measured out." He took him aside and told him 3 things. When Thomas returned to his companions, they asked, "What did Jesus say to you?" Thomas said to them, "If I tell you one of the things he said to me, you'll pick up stones and cast them at me, and fire will come out of the stones and burn you up." This part here sounds like it has a lot of Gnostic influence to it. The Gnostic religion, of course, being based on salvation through the learning of secret knowledge, which is why this non-canonical gospel begins with, "These are the hidden teachings of Jesus." But in the first part of this saying, where it says, Simon Peter said to him, "You're like a just angel." Matthew said to him, "You're like a wise philosopher." Some researchers believe that this is the response of the author of the Gospel of Thomas to the Gospel of Mark and the Gospel of Matthew. Saying 14. Jesus said to them, "If you fast, you will bring guilt upon yourselves, and if you pray, you will be condemned, and if you make donations, you will harm your spirits." This is said to have some Gnostic influence, because in contrast to the canonical Gospels, it has Jesus advising against fasting, against prayer, and against giving alms. But the second part of this saying says, "If they welcome you when you enter any land, and go around in the countryside, heal those who are sick among them, and eat whatever they give you, because it's not what goes into your mouth that will defile you. What comes out of your mouth is what will defile you." Saying 15. Jesus said, "When you see the one who was not born of a woman, fall down on your face and worship that person. That is your father." Saying 16. Jesus said, "Maybe people think that I've come to cast peace upon the world, and they do not know that I have come to cast divisions on the earth, fire, sword, and war. Where there are 5 in a house, there will be 3 against 2, and 2 against 3, father against son, and son against father. They will stand up and be one." Saying 17, Jesus said, "I'll give you what no eye has ever seen, no ear has ever heard, no hand has ever touched, and no human mind has ever thought." Saying 18, the disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us about our end. How will it come?" Jesus said, "Have you discovered the beginning so that you can look for the end? Because the end will be where the beginning is. Blessed is the one who will stand up in the beginning. They will know the end, and will not taste death." Saying 19, Jesus said, "Blessed is the one who came into being before coming into being. If you become my disciples and listen to my message, these stones will become your servants. Because there are 5 trees in paradise which do not change in summer or winter, and their leaves do not fall, whoever knows them will not taste death." Here's a classic. The disciples asked Jesus, "Tell us, what can the kingdom of heaven be compared to?" He said to them, "It can be compared to a mustard seed. Though it is the smallest of all the seeds, when it falls on tilled soil, it makes a plant so large that it shelters the birds of heaven." Saying 21, Mary said to Jesus, "Whom are your disciples like?" He said, "They're like little children living in a field which is not theirs. When the owners of the field come, they will say, 'Give our field back to us.' They will strip naked in front of them to let them have it, and give them their field." Now these two appear to be separate parables, and it is said by some researchers, because the Gnostics believed they were more spirit than flesh, they were not worried about stripping naked in front of the owners of the field. Part 2 of saying 21. I say that if the owner of the house realizes the bandit is coming, they will watch out beforehand, and will not let the bandit break into the house and steal their possessions. You then watch out for the world. Prepare to defend yourselves so that the bandits do not attack you, because what you are expecting will come. May there be a wise person among you. And it's continued. When the fruit ripened, the reaper came quickly, sickle in hand, and harvested it. Anyone who has ears to hear should hear. That seems to be yet a third part of saying 21. Here's an odd one. Saying 22. Jesus saw some little children nursing. He said to his disciples, "These nursing children can be compared to those who enter the kingdom." They said to him, "Then we will enter the kingdom as little children?" Jesus said to them, "When you make the 2 into 1, and make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, and so make the male and the female a single one, so that the male will not be male, nor the female female. When you make eyes in the place of an eye, a hand in the place of a hand, a foot in the place of a foot, and an image in the place of an image, then you will enter the kingdom." Secret knowledge. Saying 23. Jesus said, "I will choose you, 1 out of 1,000 and 2 out of 10,000, and they will stand as a single one." Saying 24. His disciples said, "Show us the place where you are, because we need to look for it." He said to them, "Anyone who has ears to hear should hear. Light exists within a person of light, and they light up the whole world. If they do not shine, there is darkness." Saying 25. Jesus said, "Love your brother as your own soul. Protect him like the pupil of your eye." Saying 26. Most people will recognize this one. Most people may recognize this one. Jesus said, "You see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but you do not see the beam in your own eye. When you get the beam out of your own eye, then you'll be able to see clearly to get the speck out of your brother's eye." Saying 27. If you do not fast from the world, you will not find the kingdom. If you do not make the Sabbath a Sabbath, you will not see the Father. By the way, this is where the discovery of the gospel was made. See all these areas of overturned dirt here? This was a cemetery. And it was in this burial ground that where the jar containing the manuscript of the Gospel of Thomas was found. Evidently, people were looking for other things buried there, too. Saying 28. Jesus said, "I stood in the middle of the world and appeared to them in the flesh. I found them all drunk. I didn't find any of them thirsty. My soul ached for the children of humanity, because they were blind in their hearts and could not see. They came into the world empty, and plan on leaving the world empty. Meanwhile they are drunk. When they shake off their wine, then they will change." So if we can learn more of the sayings that were used by Jesus in his lifetime, is that not a good thing to learn?